Mk3 Cortina City, and welcome to my 8-track PAPPA installation. It's going to be fun. We've got Klaus Handel here and Rick at the controls on his Hammond organ. Just check out this bad boy burning up the streets. We've got 8-track, we've got the tunes, we've got everything you want. Bang! Automatic track selection, and we're in. Point to me, ID the songs. Everything's out, PAPPA looking good. Join us! PC at Cortina City. I'm back on PAPPA, fresh from the NEC. It may be from the NEC that the road trip video is not yet out. You might get this tech vid before the NEC trip. That's the NEC March 2023 road trip film. But I thought there's not enough tech stuff been going on the channel and too much larking about and tomfoolery and burger eating. It's all well and good, but there comes a time when you've just got to face reality and get right back into it, and that's exactly what we're doing today at Cortina City. Curiously, just in case no one's ever seen this photo, I'm just offering you up this picture. Look, there's my brother's Cortina Mk3 XL, and there I am changing some shocks at the back. In 1985, that picture is taken, 1986 approximately. Could be 87, as late as that, but yeah, wow, you can see why I got into Cortinas. That picture needs to be put up there, really. There he is as well, again, coming down the drive of our farm. Grew up on a farm. Anyway, we digress. PAPPA is in the workshop for some continued works, and what we need today is these rear void bushes fitting, because the back axle, I noticed when I've been driving it, is moving around, and that's because the top void bushes. In fact, I think there's another 2 on the trailing arms. The rest of them are okay. The front's all good because we did that, but the back void bushes weren't doing, so we're going to do those. Also been shopping and bought some goodies. Been to the local auto jumble today, and it was a good little auto jumble actually. Got an AA badge for PAPPA. I've got some 8-track tapes for £1 each, and they're actually not damaged, and they're in their cases, because PAPPA's that rough look, and nothing's going to be like what we did with the concourse jobs. We will do the seat, by the way, because it's going to just be rough and ready, and we're keeping all the original detailing on it that's built up over the years. I thought it'd be nice to put an 8-track in it and keep it that way. We'll keep that radio as well. That's been converted to MP3. I might upgrade the speaker and make the sound system better than what it is. This amplifier on this set isn't as good as the Blaupunkt, so I might change this for one of my Blaupunkt units. Anyway, I'll make some brackets. I've got this 8-track. This bad boy, now this is Radiomobile, so it's top of the range. Radiomobile, look, a 102S. Check that bad boy out. So yeah, that's going to be tested. Pretty straightforward wiring on it. Positive feed, ground for the speaker common, and left and right. Looks a powerful set with those transistors there. What we're packing What we're packing on them? They are 2SB. Can't quite see. Oh, there we go. There we go. We are Matsushita, so the top of the range transistors 2SB401, and you should have a 402, a complementary one because it's push pull. Can't quite tell. Anyway, those transistors work in pairs, left and right, push pull. It's just the way the amplifiers work. That's good quality. We might be opening this up later, checking how the pinch rollers are, do a few basics. The belt could be gone. It's all down to the belt and the pinch rollers on these. The amplifier's pretty reliable, especially with being radiomobile. But it'd be nice. I like this one because I think it's got a 1, 2, 3, 4 track indicator lamp, and there's your track switch button. So that's a nice clump click set. With us not having the centre console or cubby hole in this because it's the L, I can mount this off the floor just over the gear stick. We'll check for gear movement, but it's going to go something like this. I just think it adds to all of this here. If you can see, I think you'll agree. Got a hazard light as well because PAPPA doesn't have hazard lights. So this is a Lucas unit. This is a good quality one. So I've got that from the Auto Jumble as well, illuminated. So we've got a hole in the dash already on the right hand side where there's been a large toggle switch. We'll take that out, and I think this hole here will go through the existing toggle switch hole, so we don't have to drill any new holes. It does have a lower bracket mount as well if you needed. Could use that, but we'll see. It can be mounted both ways. We'll have to take the column off, the dash binnacle off, sorry, and the steering column plastic to do this. Then there's a diagram to wire it in. I could have probably reverse engineered it, but we'll go off this. So, because I think hazard lights are important. Before I move on to that, let's go through the tapes. Well, multitasking. So, Star Wars, the sound of Star Wars. I actually got that from my neighbour because he's into Star Wars. He just collects anything to do with Star Wars. So, yep. ABBA, the album. What do we get? ABBA, the album. I've heard of The Arrival. Not heard of the album. Only 4 tracks. Oh no. One Man, One Woman, name of the game. Oh no, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tracks. 6 tracks? Is that it? 6 tracks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no, 7, 8 tracks. Okay. We've got the king himself, of course. King Creole. Okay. Prince William. Prince William. We've got That's the Way It Is, Elvis. So you get 12 tracks on that. We've got Bobby Goldsboro, Burt Bacharach, a nice in its carton Brotherhood of Man images. The proper 70s stuff here. You don't get more 70s than that. Brotherhood of Man. Or maybe it does. David Essex there. We're going to make you a star. In its carton. So these are good because they've been looked after. You always get the little foam pads going at the back. If you watch a Techmoan video, you'll know about this. But anyway, we're going to give them a shot. That's a bit of fun. This is just pure fun. And I got some gauges as well. Look at this for a find, okay? A Krypton econometer. Now, that's a nice little collectible unit. Basically, it's just a vac gauge. We're going to test that. In fact, do you want to stay on while we test it now? Why not? That's what it's all about at the city. Go! Into the green. So this is just, it'll slowly go back when I release the pressure. There you go. See that? I think you can all work out exactly the principle behind this. It's just the right position on your throttle. It's an economy way of driving the car. You get the idea. I'm just trying to lock this gauge. It'll go now slowly. There you go. Have a look at this play in the wheel. There's just way too much. Now that play is not in the rack or the bolt or the track rod ends. It doesn't even get into the engine compartment. And what you've got here is a collapsible column with two triangular rods, bars that fit in between it, into each other. Basically, this has got play within that sliding assembly. The only real way you can do it is to replace the whole steering column. That causes wobble. Now this is quite common on Mk3 Cortinas. I see a lot like this, and you'll notice if it's happening on yours when it's parked, you can just get movement, slight movement in your wheel. You'll notice also you can get it coming through at speed as a wobble on your wheel, and you think, well, what's happening? Me tracking out, and you find that it might not be, but it's actually that play. So there is a way you could do it. Whilst this column is off, we could drill through and put a roll pin in it, a roll pin, which would still collapse if you had the impact, because it'll just snap the metal, but it should stop that. So that's an interesting one. See if we can repair that, because that's flagged up on my pre-MOT. So we're going to watch that. Everything else I think is okay. Oh, we've got this light as well, £3. Could have had for £3. Old school. So we've got a light. I know you can use the LED ones, but I just like to the retro stuff around the garage, and can't go wrong at £3. It's the proper real deal one that they have in the old school mechanics. What they made by Paint and Applied for, it is a BSP lamp, inspection lamp. That's it for now. I'm going to cut to probably doing the hazard light switch first. We've got to get that wired in and out of the way, because that's a safety thing. Let's get that in. Luxuries go in later. Okay, nice big job broke out. This has to be done though. Talked about the 8-track, yeah, we want to put it in. Talked about the hazard lights, yeah, we want to put them in. Cowling off, but play in the steering wheel. I talked about that collapsible column. There is play in it, so we have to take it out to inspect it. But also, in the engine bay, there was play in the knuckle joint, or the UJ, of the steering link. So that, I found another one that's got no play in it, so I've just been cleaning that one up, so that's got to come off. So the actual steering linkage, it's got play in it. Even though I'd replaced one end with a brand new repair piece, the actual UJ bolts, or the UJ pins, are gone as well. So there was play in there. I could feel it on the wheel, and there's also play in the column shafts. So we've got to take it out to do that. So that's indicator stalk connectors off, ignition loom off, choke cable off, disconnecting the engine bay, and then 313 volts, and then you withdraw it out. Now these can, if you're doing this, these can be very hard to get out. This one has come out easy. I say easy, we're not out yet, but we're almost out. It's catching on something on its way. Oh, it's just the grommet. I've got to get that out. Hold on, this light's been great by the way. It can be tough on the bulkhead. They can stick into the bulkhead where it joins the bulkhead with like a seal, a plastic bushing. It can corrode into the bulkhead, making these really hard. I know I've done that when I've stripped them. So they're coming out now. There we go. I was just caught on the brake pedal spring. I'll have to rehook that on. Make sure we haven't broke that. No. So brake pedal or clutch pedal spring, one of them springs, brake pedal spring, it got caught. So that's one thing to watch. So that's the column out, and this is the bit here that can jam in the bulkhead. Now it should have a plastic insert. Is that on there? It's non-existent. That's why it's come out easy. It's walling away, and these are hard to get. I don't know if I've got any of these. This could be a killer for me. Yeah, that's knackered that. That's why it's come out so easy. Have I got any of these? Oh, this could be a tough one. There it is. Gone. Worn away. Difficult. I just don't know if I've got one of them. That could be really tricky. Because it supports the column in the actual bulkhead. You can see it there, and it's there's not much you can do. You know, it has to be that grommet. But you can't mess about with steering. You've just got to do, you know, the best job, because, you know, it's steering. I can grip this. There's no steering lock either on this for some reason. But yeah, that bulkhead grommet, I'm going to have to look through my boxes. I just don't remember ever having one. I've always used them on the cars. Oh no, there's loads of play in that. Oh hell. Right, so I've got all that play. And that's where a lot of it is, and the rest of the play is in the actual UJ. So you've got a double hit, then you could have even a little bit of play in the steering rack. I mean, the wheel was a bit, you know, a bit sloppy. I've noticed other cars, I've gone around shows and they've had quite a lot of play in their wheels too. Makes you wonder how the MOT, other than an advisory, lets that through. So I've marked where the shaft went. There's a lot of play in that. So we've got to take this apart now and see what we can do with this. I have put a marking hole through the two parts of the shaft so that I can fit my roll pin into this and repair it with the roll pin. But there are certain, you can get them, you can make this telescopic, so you can end up with the wrong length. If you're putting your roll pin in, you need to know the correct fitted length. It does tell you in the book as well. I've done it by drilling through with a small drill bit and marking it that way. As long as I put that roll pin in, that won't compromise anything. So I've got to take the pins out, the circlips out, and let it come back and take it all apart. I'll be right back. Right, you're going to see now where the problem is. I'm going to grip both ends of the shaft. Now, as I said, it's not a solid piece of metal, it's telescopic. This crushes this outer tube, but also the inner tube slides within itself, and grabbing both these mole grips, I can move that quite a lot. You can see my right hand is moving that much. It really should all move together as one. So what I've done, I've just taken out some metal here on the telescopic section to expose the shaft, and then drill through like this. I'm going to just turn the radio down, but then I can lock a roll pin into that. So I've gone straight through, and I'm going to push a pin now in, turn the radio off. So I should have a box of roll pins that I can punch in, and that'll lock. In fact, if you use a drill bit, it'll prove the point. Lock back on here, and now we don't get any movement. It's tuck it up in the pin, which is what you want it to happen. That's what I've got to do. That's the plan of attack there, to put those together and stop that sloppy play. It says in the Haynes book that if you, let's see if you can see where we've gone in, if you have that play, they suggest get a new column. Yeah, well, that's easier said than done, of course. So this is the only way you could do it. I don't want to weld it. I want something that will shatter when we have the crash. Yeah. Okay, I'll be right back. Let's get this pin and then get this column back. But the big problem I've got is I haven't got a bulkhead grommet, and they're quite a tough. It's not rubber. It's quite halfway between a hard plastic and a soft plastic. It's a bushing. It doesn't do any rotation. It just seals the column. I could use a mastic, I suppose, and let it set overnight. It could be done. It's not a structural thing as such. It's just you slide that in and it locks that column in place. So it locks it into the bulkhead, making a seal. This one was completely gone. So we need to wire brush that up and make a new seal, I guess. We could do it. I have got some tiger seal which would work. If you get it on right, spray liberally and you'll be in. So yeah, the tech videos are back, folks. We're fixing PAPPA's column. You can see where that's been. It slides on there and that pushes into the bulkhead. It's quite a tight fit. That's why when you take these out, when you've undone the 3 bolts here, you can see the collapsible mechanism. Look how this is slotted on these brackets, and they're on that little nylon runners, all designed to slide and move and collapse away. When your chest hits this bit, you punch in this back, and that the forces is coming this way as well, and it collapses on itself. So this goes that way as your body strikes it, and then the forces coming from the car come up this way. The column internal piece, the rod, doesn't push that way, it just slides in. So you get a light impact and your chassis part or your steering rack was pushed. You wouldn't feel that through here, it would just take it up inside. If your bulkhead starts to go, then this starts to collapse. The Mark III was one of the first cars to start putting in quite a lot of safety features in terms of wiper switches and light switches that break away so that they don't punch holes in your body, a breakaway mirror stalk. Of course, there was extensive collapsible zones in the inner wings and the chassis legs. Of course, this column, and the same at the back of the car as well, crush zones to create that safety cell. Of course, nothing like as safe as modern cars, but they were beginning on the Cortina there. The rubber crash pad, the foam pad for you to strike, those kind of things. The Mark II, much less safety features on the Mark II Cortina. Of course, they carried on improving throughout the Mark IV and the 5. Let's get on with this roll pin. See you in a sec, please see. How's your PAPPA? So I think that's took up the slack. There's no need to do the roll pin. So probably still slide, but now it's quite a tight fit. I'd have to just grip it in the vise and knock that off, but it's still going to collapse under force. So that's it. It looks like the way they did it to stop you wobble, they have 2 little insert pins here, and that just stops that sideways. That's about the best we're going to get. I think we'll go with that. Let's reassemble it all. So there's a bush or a bearing at the top which goes into the housing at the top of the column. There's an internal and external circlip to take out. It's all in the Haynes book. So you need the 2 types of circlip removing pliers. That type, there'll be a name for these, and then that type. So use both those. Just break the column down. I'll just give this a wipe down and then put everything back together. That's the bottom bushing, goes in the bottom of the tube there. So we'll clean that up, slide this all back together, and we should be good to go. The only problem is, of course, I've not got that bulkhead bushing, as I keep saying, but we'll have to adapt with that in a minute. Let's get this back together. I don't think that's going to do any problems now. We're good there. Back we go. See you in a sec. We're going to reassemble. Okay, we've got ourselves another steering joint. I've cleaned this up, just give it a coat of paint, nothing special, just to tidy it. This one feels solid when you do the rock like that and that way. PAPPA's original, even though I put the new donut on the bottom there, you can see, watch this, and I can feel the steering play there. You wouldn't think that would make your wheel move that much, but in combination with that shaft being loose in the sleeve and this, and possibly a bit of play in the rack, which may be acceptable. You can see that's a tired UJ there. Just doesn't like to stick around. There's this one. It's much more tight. You don't want it too tight, of course, but then again, you don't want it too loose. That one's a low mileage unit by the looks of things, so that's a good one. I don't know where that's from. I have accumulated these over the years. I probably picked that out because it was good. So wire brushed it up. Check that's okay. This is this is another bit that can fail. This one's okay. It's a fibre type washer. You can replace it with these ones from eBay. Looks a bit ugly, but they work. Anyway, that can go back on now. I'm going to put this on before I put the shaft back in. It's just that it's easier that way. You're going to have to aim for the column when you're putting this in. So I'll get that back on now. Hardest part's just tapping this bit onto the join of the steering rack. We'll get right on and do that now. I'm quite pleased with that new light I got for £3. The crock clip on it is really handy. It's better than magnets. It just clips to virtually anywhere. It's much more controllable light. Okay, bringing that up now. I'll close that together. I opened it slightly to get it on, so you've got to make sure you're not too shy later closing it up. You don't want that slipping. As much as I dare. That's on. And now we can get that actual steering column in. So we're done down this end. One last nip up. I don't want to slip there. That's a knuckle wrapper. That. Okay. Right. Let's get up top. Okay. No luck finding a grommet seal for that bulkhead, but what I did find was a brake caliper dust cap rubber. You'll see them on your normal brake front brake calipers. Those rubber seals fit nicely on, and I've just gone over with RV, so it will seal nice. It's not quite the factory, but it's gonna. I mean, it wasn't even sealed, so we're going to be better than we were. The hardest thing about this will be clipping that spring on there that popped off. I never remember where they go. Okay, I lower this in now. It's all ready to go back together. So the column goes back in. Get this in a minute. PC back, steering column back in. That tricky little spring at the bottom back on. That was a spring to stop your brake pedal wobbling. Got the hazards in. The unit's in just there. Push in to stop. Whoop, but not that far. Whoops. I've just blown it. If you push it in without the little screw cover, the little red toggle, you push the switch to oblivion. So I think we've just blown that. Hold on a sec. I'll just have to. Hopefully, it's just enough to pull on there and can get it out. That's a bit of a crazy one. Yeah, you shouldn't operate it without that, but it is going. And I've tapped into the left and right indicators on the dashboard plug there. It's easier that way. I've picked a positive feed up off the fuse box. You can just pull your fuse box multi-plugs down. It's a lot easier than just tapping there. So it only needs 4 connections. The permanent live, which I've pulled in off the fuse box connector. The red and the blue. That's a large thick red wire. So I just intercept into the wire. I'm going to solder into that one. And then you've got black and white, and you've got green and black, and there you are, the left and right indicators. And then there's an earth, which it doesn't need to work, but that does use it for the bulb in this when it flashes, so it requires that earth for the lamp to illuminate there. Other than that, it's a 4-wire job. It does show it much more complex on the instructions here. But I think that's because that's for trailer hookup connectors, but it looks a lot worse than it is. I've just done it with 4 wires, left and right indicator output, positive feed to the unit, earth for the bulb, the telltale, and that's it. Right, I'm just going to try and repair it because I pushed it into oblivion there. Hold on. Cars, we've finished the hazard lights, tools down now, off we go. So just pull the switch as you would, and that's a nice easy operation. So Papa gets the hazard lights, which is what he needed. Flashing there, as you can see. Good rate, good flash rate. So it's time to call it a day for this section of the day. I'll resume tomorrow. So we've got steering wheel and column shroud, everything back on. Steering wheel's back on. I've not actually checked this yet. Let's turn the hazards off. What's our play like? Oh, much better. We're straight in now. There's no crazy wobble on the thing, so that's straight to the wheels. Much better. That's what it should be like. Fine now. So that'll help the car a lot. With less shaking through the wheel, because if it's got play, you get that little tremble and you think it's your tracking, but it's all that play in that shaft there. So a good day's work. 2 important safety features added, or 1 improvement and a safety feature added, and of course a nice day out at the car boot sale. Well, the auto jumble, we'll get that 8-track going one day. We'll play with these gauges, put in a crazy gauge pod somewhere, probably down there, maybe a row of 3 or something if it don't catch my feet. If not, we won't use them, but we'll see. Just a bit of fun. Catch you tomorrow. Right, got a power supply, got an 8-track. I got screwdrivers, got soldering iron, we got the cassettes, I got a speaker, I've got an AA badge. So those little goodies that I went out and bought at the auto jumble can now get fitted. Get them out of the way. Oh, I've got some bushes to fit on the back. They're the Flowflex ones, these, or Superflex. No, I think the Flowflex. These are the orange ones anyway, for the back upper arms, the void bushes, so the axle, stop that axle moving. I can feel that moving, so we'll do that as well. Catch you in a sec. Pretty easy to fit. You just put these little grill securing brackets on the back. That threads through the grill, so you don't have to take your grill off. Twist them round, tighten them up, and then clip the badge on the front. You're good to go. Let's see what we got. Top off, looks clean. Belt looks okay. Let's get a torch, have a closer inspection. Right, so I would have expected the belt, but that looks okay. So the pinch rollers aren't doing their job. I'm grabbing the tape. Although, is that belt dodgy? I don't know, I think so. Let's power it up and have a look. Can't get to the pinch roller that side. It'd have to be 3 more bits would have to come out. Power supply on. I'm not getting anything there. I've got an air tag on it, yep. My power supply is noisy as well, that doesn't help. No, the belt has gone, it's just slipping the belt. And that's the problem. Look at that. It would help if the power supply wasn't noisy. There's not much you can do when the belt's gone. You have to go on stores and try and find one. But is it drawing the tape? Probably not. Whoops. The spinning tape out here, folks. The usual 8-track disasters when you get tape all over the place, and we don't want to wreck this Elvis tape because these are good tapes, and that's exactly what's going to happen if we're not careful. Already chewed Elvis up. I so don't want to damage any tapes. It's not what I want to do. We have to rescue Elvis. I think if you pull the belt and get the flywheel off, maybe not. I don't know, that's held on. Yeah, it's stuck around the capstan. The usual board of fare. Get it by just slowly bring that out. I want to rescue Elvis. I don't want him stuck. There he goes. Right, now we've got to draw that in to save the tape. Save the tape. I think the principle is, I'm not quite sure how you draw that in. I think it just have to take the tape apart maybe. Anyway, you can see what we're up against. A belt needs stripping, and looking at this further. We need to get a bit further down, look at the capstans and clean them up. Just have a look. It's a very simple mechanism, so it shouldn't be difficult, but we don't want to damage any tapes. This isn't damaged, it's going to be a bit distorted around that area where that tape's caught, but when it comes into play, it just pulls it across. I'm not quite sure how it spools up inside. I have to go on to Tecmo's site and have a look. I need to open the tape up. There are screws, I think, in the back somewhere. Don't like the look of that. Not all tapes are designed to be opened up. I don't know if I can get this in and whether it will work. Okay, put the tape back in, and I'm just turning this. It's an anti-clockwise motion on the flywheel. There'll be a different name for that probably. And I'm just looking at the capstan. It's pushing against the tape and feeding it into the cassette, and it's not back spooling. There was a bit of tape, broken tape, stuck to it. Now that wasn't from one of my cassettes, so that's on since we got it, and that probably was the fault. I'm doing this now and I'm getting no tape jam. I think everything's okay. Slowly push that out. Yeah, I can see it engage. You can't quite see it on screen, folks, but just in that area there, you might just be able to see it. Depends on this camera, but that's taking the tape round okay. So it's so ridiculously simple. As long as your cassettes are all right and your belt's good and there's nothing wrapped around the capstans and the area's clean, then it's a pretty straightforward setup. And Elvis is back in the game. These pads in the middle, I've seen this on the site, a great YouTube channel called Tecmo, and you probably know him. He's really good, takes all old tech stuff apart. Anyway, he likes his 8 tracks, and he shows you how to fix that pad. There's a spring loaded, basically a leaf spring here, and a felt pad that pushes the cassette tape against the head as it comes in. The head touches this tape here, and then it rests on the foam pad, and that creates a bit of sponge and a bit of a springy action. And the foam pad, of course, is gentle on the back of the tape. The foam pads break down, but you can fix them quite easily. Just put new foam at the back, and I don't think it's particularly any special type of foam, although Tech Moan for foam will probably give you a link to where you get it. I have got some draft excluder type foam, which I think is similar consistency and will probably work, so it'll be beneficial to repad each tape, check each tape. It does sound a bit funny inside. I don't know how they work inside. It's a long time since I took one apart, indeed, if I ever did. What we need is a scrap tape to have a look at. To give the hay fever pollen count. I don't know why it's high. It isn't actually, I don't know. Yeah. I was running in cold air, and breathing in the cold air I think's also done it. Either that or pollen, but I'm nasally. I shouldn't be. Get some cotton buds and some cleaning fluid. I'm just reaching over here. Label remover, no, we definitely don't want that. We want the, looking for not clutch cleaner, contact cleaner. Here we are. So I'm just going to clean up, and I've got some compressed air. I'm just going to clean the capstan and the heads just in there. Can just about reach them with this. Probably won't be much on dirt wise. They look clean. Let's have a look. No, they are mucky. So there was some debris or gunge on the heads, but never been cleaned for a long time, if ever indeed, when the set was bought. It's a Radiomobile set, and they're a good quality company. I'm sure you know that. So we're working with quality stuff. This ain't Chinatown. Well, it could have been built in China. Still mucky. Yes, you can get a head cleaning tape, but this is better. The capstan itself would benefit too. It's not really much to do, as I said. Beautifully simple, and a great retro looking piece, and if you can get it to work, this will have a decent sound output. Looking at the quality of those transistors on the back, that's a beefy setup. It's nice to see those driver transistors like that rather than this sort of all-in-one ICs, which can be cheap. Although I think it's a TDA 4000 series TDA chips with a common and garden one, if I recall. Going to spin the capstan on the cotton bud now. I hope the radio doesn't pick that up. It's clean. There's not a lot to do to this, really. It really isn't. Obviously, we don't know about the amplifier. It sounded like it was working. The power supply I've got here is a switch mode one. It's not ideal. We'd better running it through a battery or a smoother type power supply. This will be very choppy, so it's not a good indication. Amplifier looks well built. There it is there. Simply is just an amplifier. There's no radio in this. So that's it. I'm going to go and boil the belt and see if that works. We're going to have to get one. We're going to have to measure this and get a new belt. There's a solenoid there. You could argue would benefit a little touch of grease. Re-grease some of these pivot areas perhaps. Let's see. Some of these areas maybe. It looks good, in good order. I've got an idea as well about the speaker. I'm going to keep my original radio, but I'm going to have it so that when you power this up, or when the tape goes in, these leaf springs close, and of course power goes to the motor and the amplifier wakes up. When that happens, I'm going to drill a little hole in the back, and I'm going to bring an output wire on, what you would call an electric aerial wire. But that will go live upon a cassette going in, and I'm going to go to a 12 volt relay, which will toggle the speakers from my MP3 radio, the old school MP3 I've made. I still want to keep that. And the relay will toggle the speakers into this, so this will use the same speakers. Otherwise you've got to route 2 lots of speakers, one set for the 8-track and one set for the radio. We don't want that, so let's get it. So we put the tape in, set powers up because the micro switch is triggered, 12 volts on a wire coming out onto a relay, and that relay will then toggle your speakers and simply use the same set of speakers. The ones I've got in it now are pretty rubbish. They need upgrading to the normal ones I use in the fleet, but this is a project ongoing. I'm going to get myself two those 4-inch. It's got them in now, but they were just ones I had in stock, which were just test speakers really. They're not of any decent brand. What I found best for that, the Kenwood ones were the best. Kenwood turned out the best out of all 4 cars that have got them. I think I've had Pioneer, Kenwood, there was another firm, sort of high-end audio firm, forget now, JBL, and I think either JBL or Kenwood were the best 4.5-inch twin speakers that I've got on my centre dash. They do on my car audio rebuild videos. You'd have to scroll back, but it does show me building those. And indeed, and think on PAPPA videos actually, it shows me building the speaker bracket and putting the speakers in with a hole saw. You just get these 4-inch speakers and fit them side by side on some very thick ply, and it all goes up and you get a nice centre speaker. And the sound out the centre speakers is really good if you get good quality speakers and a decent amp driving it. If you back that up with some tweeters in the headlining and a subwoofer under the seat, it does sound good. I can promise you that the sound systems in the cars that I've built, you can't see any speakers. It all looks retro. Even the subwoofers under the seat, you don't see anything. It sounds incredible. It really does sound good. I mean, you're completely surrounded by the sound because the tweeters with the crossover networks are there just in your headlining, not seen. You've got sound reflecting off the screen from good quality speakers in the oval position on the dash. Would have been a single oval speaker, bouncing off there and surrounding you in sound, and then the subwoofer lifts up the lower frequencies, and it's really good. I would class it for me as being almost to my perfection, and that's a good thing when you can get to your personal satisfaction levels in projects. So for the sound systems that I've built, for what you've got, I don't really need it that loud. It is loud, it's sharp, it's clear, and it sounds 3D. And we'll get the same in PAPPA. PAPPA's a noisier vehicle, of course, so it'll be a bit harder, although we're going to quieten it up with some new door seals and things. Anyway, I've gone off on the usual PC Bramble Ramble. Let's do Elvis's belt. Oh no, that's Tommy Cooper, isn't it? See in a sec. Look, and this is the thing, these tapes have been stored that long that they can just seize up. Does it feel stuck? Can we unstick it? Let's see if it spools out first here. It's tight, but not too tight. That's okay. That should work. Let's try again. Could it be that belt's not good enough after all? Certainly sounds like a seized up tape. The tapes could have lost all their magnetism. I wonder if you can get tapes made. So that was stuck. Let's just see if it stops and then goes again. Yeah, so that tape was jammed. It might be that playing the tapes a few times frees them up. Could be that my belt isn't up to the job. Yeah. Might not be up to the job, that belt, after all. It's allowed us to get going, but I don't know if it's the tape. Maybe the belt's just a midging too small. Didn't oil this one. Let's try the original belt. Well, I doubt it very much, but they are elastic bands, not belts, so who knows. That's better. That is better. So, you know, we can get one. Maybe the elastic band idea is not the best. Maybe it's just a millimetre or so too small. You just don't know. I mean, you could compare them. Let's have a look. Let's compare the length. Whoa, it's tight cassette. Let's have a look. Yeah, original one's a bit, or is it? Put one inside the other. Pretty much the same to me. If anything, elastic band one is slightly smaller. It should work with that. Maybe the surface of this is not the right type of material, perhaps for the capstan on the motor. I don't know. It is able to store. Let's see which one sounds the best. I'm going to say it's going to be this one. Feels better. It's all capable of storing, but sounds terrible. I'm sure it's the speaker. But that doesn't really matter. We want to get the thing actually operational. So let's get right to it. Oh, I know this one. I wouldn't have thought in my 20s, if I looked ahead to my 50s, that you'd be messing around with classical music. I just didn't even think. Mind you, I must admit, when I was a kid, I was into, so this is actually wrong, but kind of wrong, kind of right. I was into Holst's The Planets, because Mum and Dad got me into Holst's The Planets, which is classical music, and I played that to death, and I was quite obsessed with it. That was about as far as it went, and any other classical music I wouldn't entertain, and it didn't really sound very interesting to me. And all of a sudden you go to an auto jumble, and over time, as you mellow out and you get older, classical music, you start to appreciate how fantastic it is. So there you have it. You can see why, and this fits the mood, not the ethos, but the feel of the car. And do you know what I've noticed when I've gone to the shops in PAPPA? It's nothing like as stressful. Well, it's not stressful at all, and it isn't in the other cars, but not stress is perhaps the wrong word, but I think you'll know what I mean here when I say that it's, you can park it, not lock it, doesn't matter if someone dings it, so you're not thinking about it all the time. If I take Swampy or Ruby or Bramble and Tina, then you're thinking, is someone going to do the supermarket dent this thing? You leave the windows down, you can go out in it, knock nails in it with it all day, and it'll come home and shoot bang on target every time. Look at that, it's a great little car. Look at that. Hey now, honey, if you want a Cadillac, I can get you a Cadillac with a pink slip for $2 grand. Oh, forgot, Star Wars time. Out and intact, Strauss survives. Will Star Wars, will Pickwick's Star Wars make the grade? Stay tuned, this is Cortina City, and we're playing with 8-track cassettes. We've been out on a great big 8-track bonanza bundle boogie woogie doogie in the 70s. Papa gets an 8-track. Star Wars then. Oof! Come on, Chewie! There's nothing. And it'll be interesting to see if YouTube copywriters pick this one up. We're in the game.
It's quite as pretty as Mary.
Right, so we're in there. There's a bit of tape distortion, but the speed is good. It's not warbling on the belt, so that belt works. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a bit rough. It'll work. That power supply is about the roughest power supply you could have running. It's real crude eBay Chinatown special. Voltage is, give me a voltage. Oh no, 13.8, so it's not dropping. I'll let the power supply off. Hiya, ladies and gentlemen. Hiya, hiya. Hiya, hiya, hiya. Yeah, look at that belt. Yeah. Wow, it's I've lost you, Elvis. Right, so we got that. I don't know what else to suggest. Try different tapes in case it's this tape that's knackered. 8-track, all 8-tracked up. We'll get some. So we got a Smith's classic vac gauge. Does it work or not? You can see I can't. We've got an oil pressure gauge, we'll get that in. The classic, real classic Krypton economizer gauge, I like that. And an amp gauge as well. I'll require some heavy duty cables to the loom to do that. And that's a current one, not the volt shunt like you have on a Cortina. It has a voltage shunt which doesn't need thick cables, works off the voltage difference across a shunt resistor. This takes the current straight through. Well, that definitely doesn't work, does it? Right, I am building the relay now. I'm just connecting up the speaker wires to the relay, tinning up the ends of these cables. We're going to have 6 cables altogether. The input signal left and right, that's 2 of the wires. Sorry, 2 lots of inputs. Left and right, or in the case of the set that I've got in the car, it's a mono set, but we're going to assume we're going to have stereo one day in it, so it's left and right channels in. And then when the relay's on, you get just one set switched. I'll show you what I mean. Basically put 2 lots of speakers into this relay and just one comes out, depending on if it's off or on, which one comes out. Sounds wrong, but it's, I'll explain it. Let's first get the wires in. It doesn't really matter which we're on at this point because the speaker wires are all the same colour. So we'll sort out which ones are which. Six sets of wires, and I'll show you on the board what I mean. Okay. Just turn ABBA down. We've got ABBA running. The ABBA cassette cartridge or cart. It's quite good. Works nice. So I'm just tinning up the wires now for the relay. So we're going to get these wires here soldered onto the relay. Altogether, you're going to have 8 sets of cables each radio. So we've got the 8-track and the original Ford radio in the dashboard. Now the Ford radio in the dashboard is mono, but we're going to assume it's a stereo output, so there'll be 2 cables coming out left and right, obviously two cores, so 4 wires altogether, left and right. Obviously left channel positive and negative, right channel positive and negative, total of 4 cables, 2 pairs, and then another 2 pairs for this 8-track. So you've got to feed those in to, let's get this relay up a little bit. I'm going to solder on now. Turn other down completely. We're just soldering them onto the relay. It's quite a multi-change relay. It's a 4-pole double pole double throw relay. Luckily I had it in stock just by chance, so hoping you can pick up there. Should be able to. I'm going to move you directly overhead. Hold on while the camera spins. It's a 360 camera. You can configure it any way we want, but today we're there. Overhead lights for you to help. I'll just tighten that up. I'm soldering on here. Each set as the 8-track runs, and it's running good. I find it amazing that those tapes could have been listened to by someone we just don't know who would have listened to it so long ago, you know, the 70s. It's incredible. I wonder who had that set, who was listening to that, who bought that tape, that 8-track, the day it came out. Amazing. And it's stayed magnetically, you know, ingrained or recorded all those years. There is a guy, I forget his name now, he did like what's called a deconstruction loops. It's like these tapes that went on forever, this classical music, sort of think he composed it, and then the tape kind of wears down and it distorts, and it's got this like loop. It's amazing. I got into it off the link off Techmo. Someone had commented. Techmo didn't know about it, I don't think, and someone commented on YouTube, sounds like this guy who does the tape loops. Amazing, these tape loops. Right, so that relay is wired up, just needs its power connecting wires. They're the speaker wires. I've heat shrinked every other terminal, not every individual one. Don't ask me why I did that. I have no idea. What am I thinking? Well, yeah, that one should be done. I've missed one. I'll just put it on now. It'll annoy me otherwise. It was just because they're so strong, these tabs. They're not going to touch each other, but I put a heat shrink on that anyway. Didn't really need it. The tape is switching sides as well when it gets round. There's a little electrical contactors on the 8 tracks that close a set of electrical contacts that make the head move to the next place. So ridiculously simple. Much more simple than the compact cassette. Right, there's those on. I've got to heat shrink them on. So that relay is there. Move the helping hands out of the way. Got to put our power feed to it there. So it's a lot, isn't it? More than what you'd expect just to switch it, but that's what you need if it's stereo. You'd need half that if it was a mono setup. Okay, so I'll draw it out now. I couldn't do it before, I can now. I'm going to do it. You can be overhead on this. Notepad and pen coming up to your screen that just got wet because it's absolutely bucketing it down. Bank Holiday Monday, April. So hopefully you can see this. And at the soldering irons, let's move the soldering iron. I should be able to see this. So let's draw our speakers first in the dashboard of the car, right? They're in the actual dash where the oval would be. Normally on the Cortina it's one single oval speaker, mono, but I've got left and right in the same space that it takes each pair of wires. Then you've got two radios. We've got the 8-track and we've got our standard radio. It's actually on MP3 as well, by the way, because I converted it. So this has left and right output, one pair, although they actually share a common, but that doesn't really matter, that's pretty irrelevant. So that would be your speaker points connected up on your 8-track. And on this it's mono, so there's only two wires coming out, but what we do is we double them up so that it makes a pair, so that both speakers are driven from the mono. It can handle that load. And then one day if we ever get a stereo set, the cables are there ready, it's future-proofed it. So when the 8-track is switched on, we're going to solder across one of the power points here. It's going to activate a relay, so we're going to draw the relay in the middle of the screen. The relay has a coil. I'll draw the coil this side. 12-volt coil for the relay, grounds out, and that wire goes across, and when the 8-track is active via a fuse, of course, it's going to activate this relay. If the relay is off, this pair of speaker wires needs to be able to get to these speakers, so it goes through the sets of contacts in the relay, and because the relay is not on, it goes straight through the relay and out into the speakers. As soon as the relay goes on, contacts are broken from this set, and then the speakers then connect to the 8-track. So inside the relay contact you have a wiper, two sets of contacts. That's duplicated 4 times for each set of speakers. That's why you've got so many wires. Okay, 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, I think that's it. Hang on, I'll just check that that's it. It should be 12 contacts all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3 more, 10, 11, 12 sets of contacts. So should have drawn the wires the other way, actually, coming back this way. So this takes that one, and it takes that one, and that one, and that one, that one, and that one, that one, that one bridges down to that one. What happens is when the relay fires, it just swaps all the speaker wires around. These now connect up to all the different pairs that are spare on here. I'm just going to go over it. I would normally draw this a lot neater, but basically these speakers connect from that radio. When you switch on the 8-track, they disconnect, all 4 wires disconnect from that radio, and all 4 wires then connect to the wires of radio 8. Just flips lots of contacts, and you'll see all the contacts inside the relay here. Might be able to take the cover off, probably can't. Can pop the covers off these, but if you look inside, you've got all the ways 4, and that armature there, and there's the coil that energizes, and it just swaps all the wires around. That's all it does, just switches them all around. So now what we're going to do is connect a 12-volt output across from the motor. The motor will be 12 volts, I presume, because it doesn't have an antenna, because it's not a radio, it doesn't have an electric antenna out. So we just need to find a circuit that's energized in here. It could be on this solder pad here, probably is, and then take that out to this relay here, then start connecting everything up. You could, if you wanted to, you could mount this close behind the set. I'm going to leave it trailing. Once that's all together, we can then take it to the car. We need to get its power feed, and we've got to wire in this set to the car. But for now, I'm just going to move the soldering iron across again. For now, we're going to move to the next stage, prepping with fuses, find out a power point on here, another power cable we're going to need. So we're going for it, okay? ABBA's still on. Okay, just doing the earth tag. we're nearly done with the cables. Got to heat shrink, just heat shrink down the joints, but the wiring harness is nearly done. This goes across to this 10mm bolt to earth the frame, earth the chassis. That goes on. Guns N' Roses in the background. That's our earth on. The rest of the plugs and points, power connections are on. Plugs and points. You got cars on your mind, boy. Missing Bobby already. I can't wait to get him back on. Right, so I'm going to connect up that block of wood. Not needed now. There's the relay in. Just going to connect power to the relay now. Bringing these. That's a separate earth and power feed. This is the earth for the relay. So that comes along about the same length as the rest of the wires. So cut it about there. Be right back. Got to get rid of Guns N' Roses. Can't have that YouTube copywriting like this. It's just, we can't have it. We've got to talk over Axel. I don't know if it picks it up in the back. There we go. Keep going, bunching them up. Coming up to the multi-loom plug. Over we go there. Closing up now. Nearly in. That's it. Power feed and that just get caught up into the loom as well to keep them strong. And that is that. Breakaway there. Whoop. Strong stuff, good stuff. That's called can't see it from here. Seppa. I can't remember. It's good stuff. It's like a very strong cloth type tape. That loom's done to there. So we've got a pair here, there, pair, which is the power feed. That's going to be going up inside the dash somewhere. We don't quite know where yet. It's got to reach the radio where the power feed source is. So we'll take this up behind the dash like this. Paired up. Is that heat shrinked on? Doesn't look like it. No. There's another heat shrink there to do. Get that. A go. That's it. A go. A go. Now people say, where's that air go? It comes from this guy who does kitchen utensil reviews. Crazy Russian hacker, he's called. Say that word quickly. Right, now, it's a shame how things have gone, really. Power feed is fused, so that's good. We just bring this behind the dash. There's plenty of life and length in them cables. I did it that way. So that would go behind the dash. That is going to hide behind the glove box somewhere. We're going to fit this into a little project box. It should go in. Yeah, it'll lay in there. We're going to cut a slot in the side of the box, not a hole, just a slot in the side. Use the croc sander for that. Croc sander is off your screen, but it's coming up right now. Keep you on. Just should be enough to take those cables like so. In they go. And that fits in the project box neatly like that. We need to, of course, connect these to the speakers and mark those as the speaker set. I'll ID that now and we'll keep on going good. Here we go. Okay, so the relay hides nicely in there. They have these relays as well on hands-free phone kit, or at least they did before I think it was built into your dashboard. And the hands-free kit would be able to interrupt your audio feed and then pipe the hands-free amplifier's output into your car stereo, into your car speakers rather, bypassing the stereo. So it'd be a similar unit. Parrot used to do it a bit more slimline than my box, but same idea. That would be the trigger from the Parrot, and that would swap the speakers across. So yeah, something very similar to that. Right, we've got that there like that. Those cables are a little bit bunched back there. That's what we have. Around we go to make the complete loom. That's the input from the radio itself. Sorry, that's the output from the radio. So we're going to go up and take that line too. That's done, and then this pair is the output from the radio. So that just connects to the mono output. You'll see now that I've joined them up because it's a mono output. If we ever change it to a stereo output, we just separate them. So that's into the single speaker output, then becomes double. So left and right speakers are used, even though it's mono. So there's a splitting. Sock it to me, Bobby. Like a good one. Lovely stuff. Go on, guys.
That's my boy.
That's my boy. That looks good, and the cassette just looks good in there, doesn't it? Just look at that frontage. Doesn't that look nice, the way the cassette's in? It's just so 70s, so 60s, 70s. I think it looks fantastic. And that's why we're doing this, everybody. Give me another track. Oh, that's a really good quality tape. Oh, it has got that song. This is the one I was looking for. Wow, I just missed that track. Wow, this is going to be a good tape to listen to. It was just at the end, that track. Honey! Whoa, no! No, Bobby! Bobby's back in the game, folks. Take a lot to hold him down. And yeah, what's happened is, because these tapes have been stored in a stationary position for so long, they've obviously inside, I think the tape's sort of trying to meld itself together. Once you break them free and they've run through a few times, like the ABBA one's gone round a few times now, and that's playing good. So the tapes are sticking together. It's not the player's fault, okay? Bobby's back in. This is Honey, and it's an incredibly sad song. Very poetic. And I'm not being sarcastic now. The song Honey by Bobby Goldsboro is a very, very sad song. There's something about it that's always hit me, especially when I was a kid in the 70s. I was only ever a kid in the 70s, I think. What year is this? 65. Hang on. Honey is 1968, so I wasn't even born. I was born the next year. So yeah.
She wrecked the car and she was sad and so afraid.
So she wrecked the car. So yeah, I'm going to leave this running and I'm going to carry on, get you wired up now. Okay. See you in a sec. Okay, join me in the cockpit then of PAPPA. I've threaded all the cables through behind the glove box and in to the radio area there, and I've soldered onto the speakers. It required resoldering because they were set up as mono, so now we've got stereo going through the relay box into the set, the 8-track coming out, also the output of the MP3 and radio here. So if we switch on, we'll get MP3. That boots up, talking to the MP3 stick, which is just down there. We've got orange ripping up the start again, hopefully not. So that's working, and now if I insert the cassette, it will override everything and we should get Bobby Goldsboro on. So there we go, push him in. Go on, Bobby. Lights up, got power. Bobby, we're on.
She brought me
We're in.
a joy, and honey, I miss you.
A good sound as well.
And
Right, to demonstrate it, I'm going to use a tape that's not going to copyright. So I'm going to use that Hammond organ tape. I'll be right back with the Hammond organ tape. I'm going to start talking to tape. We'll tape it up as well, get everything back in. But let's just stick a Hammond organ tape on now and see if we're running good. I really don't think that Klaus Wunderlicht is going to pick up on any copyright with his Hammond's Pop 7. Bobby out. Oh. Back to MP3, we don't need to have that on, we can turn that down, and then in for the cassette. Bang! What we got? Here we go. Glorious stereo sound! Oh. Here we go. This is PC.
Bye.